Sure, our devices talk to us, but what will it take to make for real conversation? I'm Tonya Hall, and joining me is Dr. Melanie Mitchell, author and Davis Professor of Complexity at the Santa Fe Institute. Welcome, Dr. Mitchell.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so I know this is a fairly new role for you, but how did a professor of complexity come about?
Santa Fe Institute has been around since 1984, so it's been around for a while, and it's an institute that studies complexity across nature and technology and society. But they decided that they wanted to get some longer term faculty who came from, say, universities or other academic institutions to come for longer periods of time. And one of their donors, a trustee named Elizabeth Davis, donated the funds to set up this professorship. So I have a year position here at the Institute on leave from my academic job. And it's what a professor of complexity does. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Well, I'm sure you will. So let me dive into this. What is the state of the art today regarding machine generated written and verbal communication?
The state of the art is programs that learn from huge amounts of written text, especially scraped from the web. And the way that they learn is that they are given a partial sentence and they're asked to predict the next word. Like if I said, what did you eat this morning for? And you have to predict that it's a good idea to say breakfast and it's a bad idea to say ostrich. And these systems learn from being given this prediction task. These are called language models. And after they've learned, they're able now to generate text. So if I now give them a little prompt of a sentence or two, they can continue that sentence on for many paragraphs and sound extremely coherent. So there's a well-known system called GPT-2 that probably many of your listeners have heard of, developed by OpenAI company, that is remarkable in its ability to generate coherent sounding text.
So let's talk about that. In fact, you've written about OpenAI and GTP2. Summarize for us, if you will, what GP2 is and tell us what you've learned from the project so far.
Well, it's a language model, like I just described, that's trained by having to complete text. And it's trained on millions of sentences that are scraped from web pages, maybe even billions of sentences, I can't remember. It's a huge amount of text. And there's an online demo of it that you can play with, and I played with it. And it just blew me away how good it was at creating very coherent sounding paragraphs. Now, the problem is that it doesn't have any understanding of what it's writing about. So if it writes about, say, vaccines and autism, this is an example I gave in my paper on it, writes a long paragraph about vaccines and their relation to autism, and it's all fake, right? I mean, none of it's really true. And it sounds very authoritative, but the program itself doesn't have any knowledge or understanding of these concepts. It's just able to put together these sentences in a way that can be sound very human-like, but really aren't.
So for those who are interested in maybe learning more about it and maybe even developing products and applications using machine conversation, who or what should they be following? Like how do they know where the best resources are?
Well, Google just recently put out a new chatbot that uses the same kind of technology. And I think that eventually these things are going to be open sourced, so probably the tools will be available. But all of the big tech companies like Google, Facebook, Apple, so on, are all working on this kind of AI conversation chatbot, kind of applications. And will probably make them available for companies that want to use them. One problem with them though is they're not extremely reliable. They work really well until suddenly they don't work. They just spout out something completely nuts. And it's and there's a big question in the AI community that people are debating whether they just need more data, they need more training, or deeper neural networks, or are they missing something fundamental that we humans have that enable us to carry on conversations that these machines don't have? And I think that's still an open question.
Where can somebody find your latest book, Artificial Intelligence, A Guide for Thinking Humans?
I think you can find it at Amazon and any other site that normally sells books online, or you might even find it in your local bookstore or your local library.
Yes, I
And
still love the library.
I encourage you to go to any of those places to read it. And I would be thrilled to have as many people read it as possible, even if they're just getting it from the library.
Thanks again, Dr. Melanie Mitchell, author and Davis Professor of Complexity at the Santa Fe Institute. If somebody wants to connect with you, besides getting a copy of your book, maybe they want to ask questions in general, how can they do that?
They can go to my website, melaniemitchell.me, and that has contact information and also links to all of my writings.
Sounds good. And find more of my interviews right here or go to tonyahall.net. Thanks for watching.